Hey, it's Tyler, host of the Tyler Knows Everything podcast, where the nose is crossed out because I always want to learn more. If you're watching the video version, I'm recording the intro outside today because finally we're in daylight savings time. Let's stop all the nonsense and make the United States of America remain in daylight savings time year-round. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by the following amazing Terrans on Terra Firma. Taiku Drain sponsored this month's studio rental cost. Roxanne and Eric Hilberg sponsored the high-definition camcorders. And my patrons on Patreon this month are my good friend Mark McKee and my good friend the Honorable Judge Mitch Templeton. And that's a political ad paid for by the Mitch Templeton campaign. You too can support this podcast on Patreon for as little as $5. Just go to www.patreon.com/Tyler Knows Everything. That's www.patreon.com/Tyler Knows Everything. My guest today is super interesting and highly intelligent. Please welcome Neal Riley.
Tyler
knows
everything.
So you may not know this, but I have on the notes app on my phone since the beginning a long list of people that I really want to get on, and I'm just slowly kind of working my way through that list. Sometimes people pop up like, hey, you need to get this person on, or it's unexpected. But you've been on there since, the planning phases. And so I'm glad we're finally getting around to...
It's my first time to be on a podcast.
Yeah. Well, I know you're a big fan of many podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
You've mentioned a few to me that I've started listening to. Stuff You Should Know was a good one.
Classic.
And it seems like I hear, sometimes you're going from one place to the other and you're almost always listening to some type of a podcast, like when you're doing stuff around the house or...
Oh, yeah. Anytime I'm in the car or around the house, podcast is always playing.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit about your background, because I met you kind of later on in life after you started to become a business owner, but I don't know much about your...
Like growing up?
Yeah, kind of growing up and into college and making some different...
Yeah, I grew up around here in Southeast Texas. Went to college and pursued a degree in finance. Went to Dallas after that, worked for an accounting firm for a little while before I found my passion in CrossFit. Mm-hmm. Left the finance world, and now I've been a gym owner for 10 years now.
Yeah, and it's kind of neat that we both found CrossFit as an adult. So before that, we did probably typical fitness.
Bodybuilding routine, yeah.
Yeah, I would go to the gym and I would do a completely isolated body part for like an entire workout, maybe chest, arms,
pretty much
legs.
Every day, chest and arms.
And, you could even do a whole workout in the air conditioning and maybe not even sweat, depending on where you're at.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we all remember the early days of CrossFit, our very first workout that we tried, where somebody's like, hey, come try this. And it's they almost always have a free workout on Saturday, no matter where you are at an affiliate. And I know I had the feeling I had after it. What did you think about it?
I didn't know what it was the first time I tried it out. I just remember thinking I was in good shape, going to this class, and afterward just lying on the ground, not like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think everybody has a similar reaction to it.
Right.
So did you start out in a career path of thinking that you would be in the finance world?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. That was always the dream. I was so thankful to get the job that I had out of college, thinking that would lead to other opportunities. But after a couple of years of doing it, just bored out of my mind, hating it.
And so you went from Dallas to moving back here.
Yeah, so at the time, there were already established CrossFit gyms in Dallas and Houston and all the major places. There was, let's say, 5 in the city.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a saturated market.
Right.
How could Dallas support more than 5 CrossFit gyms? Mm-hmm. So there wasn't any. And between Houston and Beaumont, there was not anything.
Right.
Plus, if I was taking this risk, I could, fall back. I could move in with my parents if I needed to, kind of be that boomerang kid,
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I put all my money into the business and didn't have any expenses for a while and just steadily grew things.
Yeah, so that was 2009 was
2009,
opening
yeah.
day. So you just had your 10-year anniversary. So
We
they say
did.
if you've been in business for over 10 years, I think you're good. I think you made it. Most of the businesses fail way early on. And
There were some ups and downs for Mid
Yeah.
County and Lumberton, but after a while, now all three are established businesses and they're doing great.
Yeah, so originally, now you have not only one of the largest CrossFit facilities in Southeast Texas, but also the most CrossFit facilities, sister gyms and satellite gyms. But it started out in, very humble beginnings.
Right. What's now a tattoo studio. That's how small it was when we started.
I mean, if you multiply this small studio room, maybe 4 or 5 times, it would be about like that.
Right,
Not really that big, and not a lot of multiple pieces of equipment, just the bare necessities.
Yeah. I don't even think Rogue Fitness was around to sell you like a pull-up rig. We homemade our own pull-up rig.
Right, because back then CrossFit hadn't gotten commercialized.
Correct.
I think they approached Nike, if I remember correctly, and Nike was like, "No, I don't think this is for us." And Reebok was doing nothing at the time. I mean, they were in tennis a little bit and walking shoes pretty much. I don't even remember owning Reebok until CrossFit.
Same here. I'd never had a Reebok.
So they got lucky and got a pretty long contract to do the CrossFit Games, and
I think that should be expiring soon.
yeah,
I wonder if they're going to stay.
There's going to be so much competition to try to get in on that for sure. I think the first CrossFit Games was in a field outside, and now it's in massive.
And just anybody could go compete in the CrossFit Games. You just showed up.
Yeah, and I was going to mention the way it's evolved from the CrossFit Games then to the CrossFit Games now, and the caliber of athlete that you would have to be to even make it to regionals. Maybe.
It's unreal.
But you did make it to regionals one of those years.
Yeah, in 2011, I think that was the second year they had the regionals. I think I could have made it in 2010, but I just opened the business.
Oh, okay.
And I had nobody else who could fill in for me.
Right. That's another good point. So in the beginning, you coached every class.
Right. Yeah.
No employees.
Yeah, I was the only one who had a certification, really the only one who knew what it was. Most people come in and had, they might have heard about it online, but nobody had done a class. Nobody didn't have any friends who were doing it.
Yeah, it was cool to see how it was the first stages of viral social media marketing, because when you do it when you try a class and you do it for a couple of weeks, you get really hyped up because you're suffering together, like as a team, as a group, as a community. It's very similar to the military, why they call themselves brothers for life, because say they go through boot camp or Navy SEAL training.
That shared suffering.
Yeah, you're suffering with a community.
And that was almost part of it that I tried to hold people back on was people would get so amped up on it and they'd post it on social media over and over, and then their friends would get sick of it. And so it started to get this kind of bad connotation of CrossFit. Like, oh yeah, these people, how do you know somebody does CrossFit? Because they'll tell you in the first 5 minutes that you meet them.
Yeah, you hear the jokes.
Yeah.
And I always try to tell people, like, hey, you don't really want to make fun of someone for bettering their lives.
Oh, I agree.
There's so many things you could poke fun at other than being healthy.
Yeah. Very good point.
So I want to kind of talk about your concept of financial independence, because a lot of people are doing it completely wrong and completely backwards. So they would say, I want to start a business. I need to go take out a massive loan so that I can impress everybody on day one.
Right.
And you kind of did the opposite of that. You're impressing everybody 10 years later, but on day one, it would kind of give you, I think Exogen was fairly new back then. And so you have to imagine people walking in, taking a tour of a facility like that, and then taking a tour of your very first facility, and they compare the two.
Couldn't even give a tour.
And, remember, yours is the more expensive option. And
yeah, about 3 times more expensive.
Yeah. And so tell us why people are okay with that, because it does make sense in that it's a different business model completely.
Right. For a facility like Exogen, they've got 6 figures worth of equipment easy. All those treadmills are a few $1,000s each. And just think of all the treadmills I have. Every one of those machines is a couple grand.
Right.
For me to outfit my entire facility when we first opened was maybe $15,000, which was all the money I had.
Yeah.
So luckily I didn't have to take on any debt. But we started small, and the amount of equipment that I had, I could have a class of, let's say, 8 people. And so I had a maximum membership. If I had 6 classes a day, I could only handle maybe 50, 60 people. So that's where we started. Just kind of started small grassroots movement. And as we grew out of that facility, it took us about a year, purchased a little bit more equipment, use all that profits to just put back into the business. I think I only made, $7,000 my first year.
Yeah, that's right. Because you were searching for how to buy a house, right? And you were
So I took all that money that I'd been saving up when I was working in Dallas. Put that to open the gym. And then after a year, we expanded into a bigger building on MLK. Bought some more equipment, but still not a lot. If you get more people in class, we can run multiple heats, put people at different stations. We found ways to make it work.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because I remember you telling your first mortgage lady, hey, I made $7,000 last year.
Yeah, they needed, 2 previous years of income. And so I had to get a cosigner when I bought my house in, I think, 2011.
Yeah.
But
yeah, because there was a big growth phase of
right.
And then I guess you had a huge demand in people in other cities saying, hey, you should open one here. Now you should open one over there. And so
there wasn't the demand. I kind of saw the tidal wave coming. Like, I believed in the product so much that I was like, it's only a matter of time until there is one here and there is one here.
Yeah.
And why not me? Why not take the risk? I did it with Beaumont. It worked out. Let's try it again in Lumberton. Let's try it again in Nederland.
Yeah.
And it did happen. Each of those cities did open their own affiliates eventually. Now there's 3 in Beaumont. There was 2 in Nederland. Lumberton, even Silsbee had one for a little while.
And did it make sense for you to partner with people so that they would have the same kind of drive that you did, rather than just maybe have an employee where you're not visiting?
It would have made sense, but I don't think anybody had the vision that I had. So, meaning they're not going to put their money up, right?
Yeah.
So what I did in the beginning was I had people who were kind of gym managers, head coaches.
Okay.
They were kind of the face of the business, and just paid them salary, hourly, whatever we, came to the conclusion that would work for both of us.
Right.
But at any time, they could leave if they wanted to. There was nothing holding them there. So once each gym kind of established it themselves, they were able to see, like, whoa, this is going to work. And then I could make the offer, hey, why don't you buy in, become a partner?
Oh, okay.
And so it took about 4 or 5 years for me to get my first partner.
Okay.
In Lumberton, yeah.
Yeah. And what's really cool is when you're a member at one, you can go to any of the locations.
Yeah, which is great for people in our area because we're always bouncing back and forth.
Yeah, because typically a CrossFit gym just has one location. There's not a lot of multiple locations. It's kind of unique for this area.
It is. I haven't heard of any other gyms that do this.
Yeah, and I was mentioning the business model is different from the Globo gyms, because their business model is that they're going to monthly draft you, kind of a lower fee, and they have people that maybe haven't been there in 3 months, maybe haven't been there in 6 months, and they're just constantly
it doesn't
getting
work unless they have thousands of members.
Right, and they can't have everybody there at once.
Right, if all those thousands showed up, it would be.
Whereas as CrossFit, those people are coming consistently. You see the same faces in the same class almost daily, sometimes 5 days a week, 6 days a week, and if those people aren't coming, well, they just quit.
Right. Every day, half of our membership comes to class. And if they don't come for a couple of weeks, they're getting an email or a text or a phone call asking where they've been.
Yeah, not only from the business, but sometimes from their friends to check on them, to keep them accountable. Like, hey, I haven't seen you in class, because you get used to, seeing those faces. So yeah, I'm super interested in the financial independence strategy, because there's so many ways that you apply it to your real life as well. I see you like driving a modest car that gets good gas mileage, that's reliable for many, many years. How many friends do we have that are constantly in a new vehicle, and you're thinking, it's just a snowball of debt, because they, of course, didn't pay that off. They got something, they had to upgrade. You see your neighbor get a new car. It's tempting, right?
Everyone around here's trucks are so nice too. Oh man, everybody puts
some
money into those trucks.
I know it's got to be tempting to you, because I'm sure your ability to do it is there.
Yeah, the temptation's there.
You're actually suppressing that.
I've almost gamified it, man, to where like I want to hold off as long as I can to So my goal isn't to be rich or wealthy. My goal is to have that automated income to
Right.
where I can just do whatever I want with my time. The goal
Yeah.
is to have as much free time as I want. I think even if I had to, I'm lucky enough to be in a position that I like my job. Like I would still coach and do things there, but I would want to have the option to be able to leave for 3 months and go travel if I wanted to.
Right. Yeah, because you kind of created your own economy.
Right.
You're not really so much having to worry about what the outside economy is doing. And
Yeah, and I don't want the CrossFit gyms to be a part of that. I don't want to have to rely on them. I want to have other, sources of income. That's been really what I've been driving all my money towards.
yeah, so
the past
instead
6
of
or 7 years.
right, instead of cramming all your money in savings accounts and maybe the stock market, you put it into maybe like some revenue generating properties.
Right. I mean, it's all of those. Stock market, definitely. Just something easy that you can rely on from the long term. But for me, funner avenue, kind of more exciting, and hopefully it will generate more income is the real estate route.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely some big gains in there. And so also the temptation as your business grows is to start taking on debt in order to grow it faster or to to outdo the competition. They've got this, now we got to get this. They've got ski machines, we got to get ski machines.
And we've done that, but it's always been just using the profits to reinvest into the business.
Right, instead of taking on
Right.
excess loans and burdening yourself. Yeah. What are some other things that people are doing wrong these days when it comes to the opposite of financial independence?
Well, I mean, going back to the cars, I would say just buying a new car, period.
Yeah.
Think of how much a car is going to depreciate in the first 5 years of ownership, and it's still a perfectly fine car.
Yeah.
So if I could go back to my younger self, what I would tell myself is, hey, buy a car that's 5 to 10 years old, drive it for about 5 years, and it's probably going to be worth just a little bit less than what you paid for it.
Yeah.
You could just resell it and then get another 5-year-old car for not much more.
Yeah, because ultimately you're using it as a tool just to get yourself.
Just getting around. I mean, if anybody's judging you because I think when you're young, you want to be cool and have a cool car, but
yeah.
people who matter shouldn't care about that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's no shortage of friends.
Exactly.
And,
yeah.
and you've been driving the same car for many, many years.
Right.
And
I don't have a terrible car or anything. I love my car.
Sure.
But it's just a Honda Accord. It's fine.
Right.
Gets me where I need to go, and probably drive it for 5 more years.
do you ever adapt a little bit of the concept of minimalism and frugalness? Kind of maybe.
Yeah, but I like to know the difference between being frugal and being cheap. Like,
Okay.
when can I just be smart about something? For instance, if I'm at CVS and I see the CVS brand or the name brand of a medicine or whatever, it says it's the same ingredients.
Sure.
And so that's not a big deal to me. But things that are important to me, if I want to spend a little bit more money on them, I'm not going to hesitate if it's something that I care about.
Yeah, like an Apple product.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
something.
I'm all about Apple and Macs.
And sometimes in tech, they tend to last longer versus
Right.
PCs that go bad. And with vacations and travel, probably in the beginning, you had 0 vacations because you had to coach every class.
Right.
And so there was that long period of paying your dues and cutting your teeth and setting things up so that you could have people in place to afford time
Right.
off.
It's probably a couple of years till I was able to take like a week off.
Yeah, and I guess your goal now is you started with a week, maybe once or twice a year you could afford taking a week off.
Yeah, now I've gotten to where twice a year I can take 2 weeks off.
Yeah, and maybe your next goal is 3 and then a month, and
Right.
and that allows
Try
you
to push that a little bit further. Little mini retirements is in the financial independence community. That's what they call them.
Yeah.
Why take all your retirement when you're old and can't really enjoy it as well? Why not take a little 2-month retirement every other year?
Yeah, I think about that all the time because there's this saying where when you're young, you have all the energy and all the free time, but you don't have the money. And when you're middle age, you have the money and you have the energy, but you don't have the free time.
Right.
And then when you're old and retired, you have all the money and you have all the free time, but you don't have the energy.
Right.
And so you're kind of combining the best of all 3 of those scenarios, especially with vacations where you can go many different places, like in Europe, where you can travel really quickly to be in different countries because they're smaller countries, and do things. When you travel, you're still working out and doing activities, zip lining and bike riding, and those things you may not be able to do later on in life.
Exactly.
And it's not going to be the same. So What are some of the other misconceptions about CrossFit? One I usually hear when I'm trying to bring a friend day is they're like, oh, I'm not in good enough shape to come to CrossFit. And I say, you don't get in shape to start CrossFit. You start CrossFit so that you can get into shape.
Oh yeah, we hear that one a lot. On the other end of the spectrum, you have people who's like, oh, that workout's not going to be good enough for me. I'm going to lose all my gains, or stuff like that. So you have people on either end of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
You have to tell them, look, you can do it. Even if you're 100 pounds overweight, or if you're in your 60s or 70s, we'll just scale it and modify it to your needs. And if there's something you can't do, we'll change it up so that you can. And if you're a badass who's worried about losing their strength or something, hey, we'll just make that barbell heavier. We'll make your kettlebell heavier.
Yeah.
It can still be a strength-based workout.
Right. There's going to be people doing pull-ups from every different sliding scale.
Right.
Some that are doing body weight, some that are adding weight, some that are doing it with an assistance band,
Right.
and then some that are doing it with a ring row, and then some, there may be even further modifications depending on it. So there's, I know I've been in classes before with people that are over 70.
Yeah, if you don't have an ego about it, anybody can get in a great workout.
Yeah, they're doing the same thing I am, probably sometimes beating me.
They're just doing it to a level that's right for them.
And the community aspect is something that's different, where when I used to work out in gyms in the past, you see your friends or you have a workout buddy, but this is like a whole nother level of community, even outside the gym. There's social events, competitions, group gatherings.
Man, as an adult, it's hard to make new friends who aren't, just old high school or college buddies or people from work.
Right, because
so
you pretty much just go to work and then go home.
You're in your little you're in your bubble of people that you already knew, people you're meeting at work. But now you have this totally new social network of people that you might have not have never interacted with. And if you're with them, let's say 4 days a week for an hour, well, crap, I don't even see my parents that much. I don't see my nephews that much. So we're building relationships with these people to where, we want to go hang out on the weekends or go get dinner sometime, something like that.
Yeah, sometimes I look around and we're all in workout gear and we're all going through a workout, and you see, there may be a United States federal judge, a police officer, a fireman, an engineer, teacher.
Oh yeah, lots of teachers.
Yeah,
and then students.
College students, construction workers, people that are in sales, realtors, marketing.
Lots of hospital workers too.
Yeah, nurses, healthcare, doctors. Everything in between is all in that one class, kind of going through the same thing together. And it's almost kind of like they're all equal. I noticed with some of the careers that usually have a title, like a judge so-and-so or a doctor so-and-so, they're all just first names with everybody in here. I mean, I know when I see Peter, I call him Peter, and I don't call him doc or anything. What are some things that you're doing for your own personal nutrition?
I've gotten to where I'm just right in that I'm not trying to do anything to the extreme. You know what I mean? I've gotten to where I know how to eat a healthy breakfast and I know what I like. So it's not even like a diet for me, Yeah. I just eat my healthy breakfast. It's something that I can do every day if I wanted to and not get tired of it. And same thing with lunch and dinner. It's getting into a routine and habit of something that's healthy and you like. If you try and do a diet and you're like, oh, this is miserable, I can't wait until this is over, it's never gonna last.
Yeah, I think when you put yourself, when you label it or you put yourself in a restrictive category, like I'm only eating this and I can't have that, rather than something that you can easily maintain.
Exactly. I've got some stuff that I'll do very rarely, and it's okay if I don't need it every week or something. Other stuff, like I'm gonna try and have onions and broccoli and spinach every single day, because that's stuff that I'm fine to eat. I don't mind the taste of it, and I know it's good for me, so I'm just going to eat that all the time.
Yeah, and not a lot of fast food. You're mostly preparing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and mostly probably not processed food, but more of ingredients like you're
I've got a great wife who's on board with everything. She's a very great cook. She always finds new recipes, makes things interesting.
Yeah, she seems like she enjoys it, especially because you see on social media a lot of people post their food and post them making the food to give people ideas sometimes.
Yeah, she's got a little food blog on Instagram where she kind of posts her recipes and the pictures.
Yeah, it's always creative. It's usually colorful. That's another thing too, just adding a lot of color to your diet. Well, anything you're doing personal for fitness here recently, or you kind of, I know you may be out of the competition phase.
Right. I compete every now and then just for fun, but
Some
right
of the
now,
local stuff.
right, I'm squatting every day. It's something I
Okay.
started to do at the new year. I think I'm maybe like 60 days in.
Wow. Yeah. So I
I
know you did it in
missed I missed
January.
one day.
Yeah, I knew you did it for January. I thought maybe you stopped after 30 days. I didn't know you were still doing
I'm
it.
trying to make it to 100 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So how has that been different from usually squatting maybe twice a week, 3 times a week, or something like that?
Usually is twice a week at the
Twice
most.
a week. Yeah.
I feel like I don't get nearly as sore as I used to. My strength has obviously gone up,
Yeah.
and I don't have a set program that I'm following. I just have a bare minimum that I want to hit every day.
Yeah.
And as long as I hit my bare minimum, I'm happy. Some days I'll go, 70 pounds over that for a double. Some days I'll just hit my minimum for 2.
Did
Just depends on how I feel.
Did some of those gains transition into other movements?
Yeah. So that was kind of fun to see. Was I might not clean for 3 weeks, and I hit a little PR on my hang clean or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have seen it transition to other personal bests. And after 10 years of this, it's hard to get personal best because I feel like I'm a little bit past my prime. I'm 35, but it's nice to see like, hey, I'm getting a little bit better even as I age.
Yeah, I'm creeping up on 40. And 35, you're officially old enough to run for president of the United States.
Oh, I was thinking. I thought you were about to say the Masters division.
Yeah, that's yeah. Apparently, if we're under 35, we're not qualified. So I don't know who made that up. Right?
I don't know.
But you and me were some of the first few people in Southeast Texas that solar powered their house. I thought that was really interesting. You did it a little bit before me. Your roof pitch is a little bit flatter, so you have some pretty good solar days.
Oh yeah.
Have you gotten to see kind of what it takes to push back into the system? Say we have a sunny day, no clouds, and you check.
I used to follow it every day.
I did too, yeah.
But now I just kind of let it do its own thing. I'll see my monthly electricity bill. It's $10 or whatever. But part of the reason for me doing it was just my house was so inefficient. When my first summer in there, I had electricity bills that were $400, $500.
Oh wow!
And Jeremy Sisson, you know him, my brother-in-law, came over to try and improve the AC. He's like, man, this house is just not built well. There's not a whole lot I can do.
Yeah.
And so then I started looking into other options. And then just the green movement is very important to me personally. So I was like, this is a win-win for what I believe in. And financially, it's going to make sense. It's already, it's been 5 years. It's probably like 60-70% paid for itself. So a few more years, I've just got free energy after that.
Yeah, it's really neat. Almost just this weekend, for example, I was outside working in the yard, and almost anytime my neighbors see me outside, one of them's going to stop and ask me about it.
Really?
Because
no one ever asked me.
Oh, okay. It's funny because typically in social situations, it's polite to not ask somebody how much they paid for something. Like, usually they don't do that with a car or a house. Nobody asks that unless they're like your really, really close friend, maybe. But with solar panels, a complete stranger will straight up ask you. That's their first question, mainly just because the curiosity overtakes them and they don't have anything to compare it to.
Yeah, I guess a few people do ask me, and they ask the cost and everything. But regardless of what it costs, it will eventually pay for itself.
Yeah, for me,
and it would be free energy.
Yeah,
I think if more people realize that, everyone would do it. Like, they don't realize they're losing money in the long run by not having them. Regardless of your thoughts of anything else, if you're just worried about your pocketbook, and you're going to be in your house for more than 7 or 8 years, you should do it.
Yeah, because what I tell people is you're already committed to paying Entergy whether you like it or not.
Exactly.
You're going to have that amount. So what if I could finance a system for just that amount monthly?
And that's what they do.
Yeah, soon that payment is going to go away, and the electric bill is also going to go away.
I think mine are guaranteed for 25 years.
Yeah, 25-year production guarantee, and that's just how long they're putting their warranty on it. It's still going to produce after that as well. Right. So I'm excited about it. I've tried to reduce the single-use plastic all in my house. I think the only thing I'm using now is water bottles, and that's just a habit of always buying bottled water that I got to get out of, and just because there's definitely no shortage of Yeti cups. Almost every marketing event I go to, someone's giving. It used
to be so cool, like to have a Yeti cup, and now you've got 10 of them.
Oh yeah, that and travel coffee mugs, and things like this. So
Yeah, my house has been a big part of my financial independence strategy.
Yeah, so you incorporated roommates into part of your strategy.
Yeah, I mean, kind of seems, when I guess I was 24 at the time, not so much frowned upon to have roommates, but three of us in a 4-bedroom house, all good friends, but one of them was there for about 6 years, and the other one was there for 10 years. He just moved out recently. But I think over the life, they probably together paid $70,000 in my house.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So thinking back of all that, that's so much money that
Yeah.
I was still paying my mortgage, and I think I paid off that house in about 5 years.
That's crazy.
And they were a huge part of that. I could
Yeah.
have never done it without them.
Yeah, I think that's a huge deal
Yeah.
for any single person out there that wants to be a homeowner, to definitely consider. There's so many single guys I know that may go get a 3-bedroom house by themselves, and one room's going to be a man cave, one
Right.
room's going to be an office, and then they've got their room. Well, why not?
Yeah,
right?
I think if they were to see those numbers on paper, they'd be like, hey, maybe I should get a roommate. And as long as it's somebody who, you get along with, it works out. It could be a win-win, because I didn't even pay them, or I didn't even charge them very much rent.
Yeah,
It was a
that's
pretty
right.
low rent. So I was super happy with it. Now, I'm married. Wife wasn't, she lived with, me and her lived together with a roommate for maybe 6 months after marriage. She wanted to kick him out right when we got married. And so I said, why don't you start taking the rent? And she's like, okay, maybe you
then
can
it
stay.
changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, once I paid out that house, then it was like, hey, let's move on to the next one. And that's when
Right.
I bought the second property.
Okay. Yeah. So you've got an in-town rental, and then you've got kind of a vacation rental.
Yeah. So the in-town rental is just a little condo that we put a little bit of money into to update it. And now that's all. It's just a mailbox check, They don't cause me any grief. Something goes wrong, they just shoot me a text message, and I might call a handyman to go out there. It's pretty simple. And then the vacation rental is a lot of fun. But I don't have to do anything for that one. I have
it's
a management.
managed.
Yeah, because it's so far away that
Right.
if they have a complaint, I can't deal with anything.
Yeah.
I can't organize cleaners coming in and out of there.
That's
But
smart.
that one's cool because it's also like a free vacation for me.
Yeah, it's dual use.
Yeah, so I can take my family out there. I can take a group of friends out there. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do that around here with, beach cabins.
Oh, yeah.
And things like that. What are some other things? Those are things that I knew just from being your friend. You probably have some other tips and tricks that I don't even know about.
Yeah, so I mean, some people don't want to live with a roommate, right? But if I was a young single person about to go out on my own, and maybe I've got enough for a down payment, which in some cases can only be like $7,000 or $8,000 if you get an FHA loan. Go buy a fourplex or a duplex. You live in one of them, and then rent out the other 3. They're going to pay your note plus some.
Yeah.
Or even if it's duplex, rent out the other side.
Right.
And you don't need a property manager because you're there all the time. If they need anything, they just come knock on your door.
Yeah. I've seen some Airbnbs where maybe like the resident lives in the top floor and they're renting out the bottom, or vice versa.
Oh yeah, I've used Airbnbs to where I'm just renting out someone's room, and they might have 4 rooms in their house, and there's been other tenants in there. I'm like, man, this person's got to be making like $250 a night just on their house. Especially maybe not around here, but if you're in a bigger city like Houston or Austin, and you're near like a convention center, maybe you could get people all the time.
Yeah. Do you have any creative travel savings, like using the Airbnbs?
Oh man, with the businesses and the reward points.
Oh, yeah.
When I used to get a credit card, I was like, why would anybody spend $300 a year to get this
Yeah.
rewards card? Well, then I started doing the math and running the numbers of these reward cards. Reward cards get you 50% more points. And now it's like just having, paying a few extra $100 a year for a certain card.
Oh, okay.
I'll end up getting $1,000 off of that card.
Right. Yeah.
So those rewards have been awesome.
Yeah, because I know you're probably not keeping a balance on those credit cards.
Oh, no. I
It's
mean,
just
if
30.
you're using credit cards at all, you cannot keep a balance.
Right. So
Yeah.
you're paying them off every 30 days to
Right.
buy your supplies. And
Exactly.
that's kind of a no-brainer, I guess, because for a facility, you're going to be buying supplies constantly.
Yeah, any small business, you have to have your monthly expenses, right?
Yeah, and if you can get points and rewards for those, of course, the credit card companies are banking on their they may be losing money on you, but they're making money on all these people that are constantly
Right.
keeping that balance on the sheet. And
a lot of times, where the places that you get a lot of rewards, like 10% at Walmart, I'm sure Walmart is giving them like a deal also.
Right, yeah.
So they're probably making money on both ends.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the people who are carrying a balance, that can be killer.
Yeah. I mean, some of them are 20%, 30% the interest rates. Yeah. Anything else that you can think of for financial independence that you wanted to mention to the people out there?
Man, just living below your means is the biggest thing. So,
Yeah, that's huge.
There's two sides of the equation. How much money am I bringing in and how much money am I putting out every month? And if I live at a certain lifestyle at 25, 5 years later when I'm 30 and I'm making 20% more money, I don't need my lifestyle to creep up 20% with it.
Mm-hmm.
If I was already comfortable. If I was in poverty, obviously I want to, live a little bit better. But then from 30 to 35, I'm going to be making even 20% more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Most people as they progress in their careers.
Right.
Be okay, and know where you're comfortable with that, just because you're making twice as much as you were 10 years ago, if you don't have any kids, you don't need to upgrade a house to a 5-bedroom.
Right, sure.
In fact, we're thinking about downsizing a house now because 4 bedrooms, just me and my wife. We don't need 2,500 square feet.
Yeah, so that's an interesting concept because it's the opposite of what you just said. People think, I'm married now, I'm making more money, we have dual income, let's upgrade.
Right.
But why, though?
Yeah, instead, you can pocket that dual income and then retire at 53 instead of 65.
Yeah, some of your vacations can be longer. Some of
Right.
your vacations can be to destinations that are more expensive. It's probably a complete cost difference to go to Cancun or Dubai. I'm sure.
And the more you play around with those charts that you can find online with savings, and let's say you have a 7% return rate, just like how powerful that money can be in 20 years. It doesn't, like 10,000 might not seem like a life-changing amount of money, but if you're investing 10,000 every couple of years, then after 20, 30 years, that can be enough to retire on.
Yeah.
Even if you're not doing you're just putting into the market and just trusting that it'll do what it's done for the past 150 years.
Yeah, I have a friend that rents houses, and I think he's getting like 12% on his homes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm real interested in the real estate game of it because it allows so many different things as you go forward, because you've got the monthly cash flow that you could live on constantly, but then towards the end, there's also the option of selling it.
You still got this asset that's been growing.
Yeah, the asset was paid off by someone else other than you. All you needed to do was put forth the risk of the down payment and then get the cash flow going. Then you've got an asset that probably appreciated when you're 60, 70, 80.
Oh, yeah.
Say, hey, I'm kind of tired of maintaining it.
So right now, it's not like this huge money, like my condo, for instance. It's not a huge money maker. I might make $200 a month off of it.
Right.
But it's still $200 a month. But after 15 years of this note being paid down, then all of a sudden I've got this asset worth a lot of money, and I don't have that note anymore. So now I'm making $1,100 a month.
Yeah, lots
on
of
it.
So
it's really, you got to have that long-term view.
Well, what are some of the other podcasts and books and shows that you like to?
Oh man, for personal finance, I think the one that kind of got me into this mindset was Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay.
There's also The Richest Man in Babylon, 4-Hour Work Week, which everyone who reads that book, no one works 4 hours, right?
Yeah, it's more about the mindset.
Yeah, it
I would
is.
say it's Tim Ferriss, and then Robert Kiyosaki is the Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's another one that a lot of my friends that are doing well and successful and kind of have that living below your means mindset, they always recommend that book as well.
Right, and I'm all about the podcast. My favorite personal finance one is How to Money.
Okay.
But then I really just like economics in general. So there's Freakonomics and Planet Money. You already mentioned Stuff You Should Know. They cover a range of topics, not really just about personal finance.
Right.
I just every day when I wake up in the morning, up first in the daily, figure out what's going on in the world.
Okay.
With a little 10-minute recap.
Yeah. There's one that is that what the name of the podcast is?
Yeah, one of them's Up First. I think that's NPR, and then the other one, The Daily, is by the New York Times.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I've been looking for one like that kind of just gives me a brief recap of what's
I always
going.
wonder how early they start recording because I think it goes out at 5 a.m.
Oh, wow.
So they've got to be at the studio every day at 4
Yeah.
a.m. or something.
Well, I know from dating Jillian, she's going on the air at 4:30, but she has to wake up and get going around 1 a.m. because before you go on, she has to create the content.
Right.
And, kind of write the teleprompter, make the graphics. So, yeah. Yeah, they're pretty much working
It's a tough lifestyle.
at night, right? Yeah. And so would you say you're more of a audio content versus reading?
For learning, yes. I like to read for fun. I try not to read any nonfiction anymore. All about the fiction books, right? Right now I'm reading I think there was some kind of outbreak and it turned into the zombies. I started reading that like the very beginning of January.
Coincidentally?
Yeah, and it's a 3-book thing, and I'm on the 3rd book now. I'm like, man, this is too real.
Yeah. Just for fun over the weekend, I watched Contagion and I watched Outbreak, and the plot line was almost identical because they're doing news segments in the movie, and it was like the same exact thing that they're taking. Lawrence Fishburne was like the director of the CDC, and he mentioned social distancing, and this is like 2003, and I never even heard of social distancing until now. I thought it was like a buzzword.
I remember seeing one of those movies, but it must have been early 2000s.
Yeah.
I can't remember the people who were in it or anything.
Yeah, the other one was 90s Outbreak, and it was more Ebola, and that was Dustin Hoffman, Morgan Freeman, and what it was a weaponized virus from Vietnam that they thought was under wraps, and it resurfaced. Yeah, and so there was a scandal in addition to the uncontrollable outbreak. But what do you do for immunity? I think you just kind of are healthy. And that helps, right?
I mean, we're trying to do our best with social distancing, and when we are at the gym, we are wiping things down like crazy. Mm-hmm. I think it's only a few days until all that gets kind of shut down. We're going to start doing an at-home challenge.
Right.
We're going to try and gamify it to where people are trying to, get points every day by doing this and this and this to keep their minds off things, keep them active, and to still see value in what we're doing because we're worried about, people wanting to cancel or put their memberships on hold.
Yeah.
But, Erica's got a kid on the way. I've still got bills to pay. So everybody, all the small businesses are really worried about that.
Yeah, it's really like no other event we've ever had to deal with because with hurricanes, we've almost been through so many we know. We were like, it's about 2 weeks and stuff kind of slowly gets back to normal. And this is just people doing unorthodox things.
I was talking to my wife this weekend how this is going to be like it's like almost like a 9/11 moment where we're going to all remember this time.
Yeah.
And kind of like in Southeast Texas, how everybody has their Hurricane Harvey stories and people ask you about it. Now, no matter where you go in the world, people are going to have their story about this.
Yeah.
How the virus affected them.
Yeah, I vacationed in London back in 2017, I think, and I've got this friend from Greece, and so we were messaging each other. He was telling me what's going on over there. There's a guy I know from work that lives in Singapore, and he was letting me know how. And it's interesting to hear their stories. They've got some wild stories because there's so many thousands of.
They're a couple weeks ahead of us.
Yeah, and here we keep getting people that mention there's no positive tests in our area, but we haven't had the tests for that long.
Right. I was talking to somebody who said they work at a hospital, and they said, I don't even think 100 people have been tested.
Right.
Because they want to go through every other possibility first. Like they don't even want to test you. They want to get everything else out of the way.
Yeah, and I wanted to get some accurate information, so I did the same thing. I reached out to somebody at the biggest hospital in Southeast Texas, Chris of St. Elizabeth, and I said, how's the testing situation going? And if you're listening, this is March 16th? Yeah.
17th. St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. So they said, we just got tests last week. So they got the tests last week and started testing them. And they have to be sent off. They can't be done in the lab. The test that can be done in their own lab hasn't been FDA approved yet. So they're sending them out. It takes a couple days and they come back. But like you said, there's a limited number. So they're trying to screen everybody, do a chest x-ray, and if it looks like it's probably not that, they're probably not testing them, and they're going on to the next person that probably legitimately needs a test. So
I've heard there are people who are kind of being quarantined right now, like they think they might have it, and they're not really telling the everyone yet because they haven't tested, but everybody's like pretty sure they do.
And another weird theory I had was I remember a lot of people getting sick back in December, and they were going and getting the flu test and testing negative, and they were just kind of like, oh, well, I guess I got a bad cold. I'll just go deal with it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Who knows? I haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah. I think it was December. I went to the Black Keys concert. I was super excited. Haven't been to a big concert in a long time. And I'm never sick. I mean, I'm talking about every other year, maybe I get a cold, just have good immunity.
Yeah.
And I got the worst sore throat I've ever had in my life. And
Is that one of the symptoms?
I think that may be one of them.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't know what's wrong. We got to go. But knowing me, all I did was I just went to CVS, got some throat spray, and just went home and dealt with it.
Yeah.
I didn't go to the doctor. I didn't take my temperature. So I don't know if I had any other symptoms. I don't know if maybe because I'm a younger person with good immunity, maybe that's the only symptom that I got. I don't know. But that was back in December.
It's crazy how things have changed in just 3 or 4 days. I left for a bachelor party on Thursday, and I couldn't believe some of the guys were thinking about not going.
Right.
And fast forward 3 days later, and now I'm like, I can't believe we went.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen weddings that get canceled.
Mm-hmm.
No kids are in school right now, of course. Proms canceled. What a time to be a senior in high school right now, right?
Dude, no joke.
Mhm.
Kind of a disappointing, though,
It
if you
is.
play a sport or...
Yeah,
I mean, they're probably not even going to get to finish out their senior year.
right. There's empty stadiums for professional sports. It's very bizarre.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this all plays out. We'll tell everybody where they can find you on social media and in real life.
You can follow us on CrossFit Beaumont on Instagram, and there's also, if you're in Lumberton or Neal in CrossFit Mid County, CrossFit Lumberton, I think that's their Instagram handles. In real life, come try a Saturday class at 10 a.m. I'll coach you through a workout, see if you like it.
Sounds good.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. You're welcome back anytime. It's always fun having a real life friend on the show, and also somebody with so much knowledge. Just wanted to, let you know that even though I'm older than you, you're somebody I look up to as far as business management, finances. You're one of the
Dude, right back at you, man.
Yeah,
I remember when I first opened up my gym, you had already had an established gym. I would
Yeah,
kind of
that's
drop
right.
into your place, and we do our adult gymnastics and stuff.
Yeah, we did, and that was something that fascinated me so much, is because I'm one of those people that did this the opposite way, right? I said, there's other gymnastics gyms in town. I've got to be bigger. I've got to be better. I've got to have all the equipment on day one.
Oh,
Huge loans, right? Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so and here's another funny story. I don't think I ever told you this. So CrossFit. This is before. I think maybe this is probably like the LG Voyager days, right? So no iPhones yet, because I opened in 2007. So that was the first iPhone ever,
Okay.
and I wasn't on like the people waiting in line to get an iPhone.
Yeah, I think I was a few
So
years
so a
after
lot of
everybody.
my Googling and stuff is going to be on a laptop or something, and I had just found out about CrossFit like the summer of 2007 that it was more of a workout. I didn't know it was a brand. And so I did, because I was always doing creative things like the adult gymnastics and
Right.
little fitness challenges and stuff. So I had this little I had the group of elite gymnasts that I was always putting through workouts, and so I kind of wrote up a version that adults could do. And I just made some flyers and called it CrossFit. This is like 2007, right? and it was fun. They loved it. But I think CrossFit Corporate contacted me to say, hey, this is actually a brand.
How do you think they found out?
Social media, yeah, because
okay.
Facebook was still around, and I put it on
Gotcha.
there, and so I think they saw that I was using the name,
Okay.
and they weren't mad. They were just like, "Hey, we're just letting you know this is actually a
Gotcha, yeah,
brand, but if you're interested, you can." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know, I'm just doing it for the summer. That's okay." I didn't, but yeah, it's a funny thing. And that was 2 years before you moved down here, so it's kind of a funny story.
Wow. I can't, that's funny. They invited you to go to like an L1 or something.
Probably
Some of my
so, yeah.
Friends who have very successful gyms took their level 1 without any like their friends. They were just personal trainers,
Yeah.
and their friends were like, "Hey, I'm going to the certification. It's $1,000. Come take it with me."
Yeah, and I would say from prior to being a gym owner, I worked at the wellness center, and I was a certified personal trainer and went through that side of certification, and it's a completely 180 of what CrossFit goes through for their certifications. I mean, mine was kind of just like study a little pamphlet, watch a video.
Yeah.
And
Ours is a lot of fun.
yeah, it's
And
fun,
the
but it's
people
also
that coach it are so knowledgeable.
yeah. What I was gonna say is it's more in depth.
Oh,
than,
yeah.
than any other fitness training protocol that I know of.
Yeah, and that, yeah, it is. You're going through the motions. You're actually participating, but at the same time, it is just a weekend. You really have to hone your craft.
Yeah.
When you go back, like coaching people, teaching, and then that's really where you kind of figure things out, and then constantly, reading articles, things like that.
Right, and it's got different levels too.
Right.
And even there's CrossFit Gymnastics, CrossFit Olympic Lifting, football.
Right.
Endurance. Yeah.
Probably 15 different ones.
Right. Yeah. Cool, man. Well, yeah. Well, let's wrap this up. We got the last half of the day to go out there and get this bread.
Right. Let's do it. Thanks for having me, Tyler.
Thanks.